Welcome back everyone, it's so great to have you. Today I was actually very upset with this build. I came up with this great build that should work very well and could work really well if you did it perfectly. But for how bad the Kepris Horn is, even after the Scorch buff, it is just so difficult to hit enemies with it, and that kind of prevents the build from actually succeeding very much. It's great for like if everything's standing in a row and nobody's moving, but that very rarely happens, and my review of the gun is it's very low. Like I might never use this ever again. This has got to be the most terrible exotic I've seen in a while. Even after the buff, it is just so bad. While it does give you your rift back a ton if you do hit your solar, flames. It barely does enough to even kill any enemies, and even if it does kill enemies, it'll give you your barricade back, but the barricade really doesn't do that much damage and is very hard to hit in almost every case. The thing it really needs some tracking or some way to trap your enemies in front of you to actually have this working. And even if you were able to trap them, this exotic barely does any damage, so you're just relying on the scorch stacks to create ignitions with your other abilities, which really isn't that great. Even with our barricade spamming in this video, I put a pretty great build together, I thought, in theory, but it just didn't come out as the way I wanted it to. I still left the build in this video just to see and try it out and see if you guys want to change anything with it and to prove me wrong that it actually is a good exotic. But in my testing, and I've tried a bunch of things, it is just not a good exotic, and I'm actually really disappointed because I was actually kind of looking forward to, because my friend was talking about how good this thing was before, and I don't know what the hell he was doing. He must have been smoking something. But there's no way you could use this in any hard content. You have to be stupid if you're going on a GM with this. I was in a legend with 17 under and I could barely survive through anything. This is gonna be just so terrible. I don't even see a use for it in anything at all. There's nothing that some other exotic won't do better than this to ever warrant using this. Even though I think like a bunch of the consecration wasn't even creating sunspots half the time in this video, which is really weird. But that also kind of affected the build. And like the sunspots were just very inconsistent. I don't know why. They just weren't spawning every time. I don't know if they added like an internal cooldown or something, but it definitely doesn't feel as good as it used to. It might be a bug or something that they need to fix, but this is my experience, and I want you guys to test it out in your own free time and see if you're having the same problem with me, because this is really kind of hard to use and almost impossible. I don't really see a use for this, but I do want to show off the build just to see what you guys want to do. So it would mean so much to me if you guys left a like and a subscribe. It means so much, and I love to have you guys in the comment section. It just means so much. So thank you for watching, and let's get on to the build. Here you go, guys. Okay guys, for the mods we're using two focusing strikes, which will give us some extra class ability when we hit our melee. This will be using with our consecration. Using heavy-handed so our consecration spawns an orb. This will give us double charge of light because we're getting stacks on stacks. And then we'll be getting more charge of lights too because we have a chance to get them when we pick up a fire sprite. And then we'll also be getting our charges, so then we'll be able to use utility Kickstarter to get a large portion of our barricade back, which then we'll be using our barricade a lot. So we're using Bomber and Reaper. Reaper, we're going to use it, and then we get a kill with our weapon and spawn another orb, so we have another method of charge of light. And then on our subclass, we are running the Incendiary Grenade with Consecration and Soul Invictus. We're going to be using our Consecration because it's a good mid-range way to get ignitions and scorch enemies. We'll be using Ember of Searing, so when we get our Scorch kills, we'll be getting more melee energy, so we can constantly have our Consecration. Then we're gonna be using a Soul Invictus, so we need to increase our duration of our sunspots with Ember of Solace. And then our whole build kind of comes together with the Ember of Singeing, which when we do our Scorch damage with our Barricade and our Grenade and our Melee, we'll be getting more class ability back, so we can use more Barricades. And then this will also be fueled by our extra Scorch stacks from Ember of Ashes. We'll be getting a lot of ignitions, and I also chose to use Polaris Lance because it did recently get buffed, so you get a bunch of Scorch stacks after hitting 4 headshots, and you get like, an explosive round that scorches enemies for a good amount. And that also helped to get the ignitions with the barricade. It meant so much that you guys stopped by, and I really hope you guys have an amazing day. I was really disappointed by this exotic, so I hope you can get some happiness out of this video and maybe save some time out of your day, because this is kind of a silly build that I probably wouldn't use in any hard content, and I wouldn't, if you're really serious about this game, I would not even try this build out in any content. Like, it's just not worth your time if you're trying to have the best build possible. Maybe if you're trying to have some fun or play around with your friends in PvP, but that's really it. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys have an amazing day. Goodbye, guys!